Hi, welcome to Homemaker Living. Thanks for joining me today in my garden. My name is Teresa, and my plan today is to work on my squash plants. I do this every couple of days, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for squash bugs. Now, squash bugs are new to me last year. Last year was my first year in this garden, and I'd never dealt with squash bugs before, and so I wasn't on the lookout for them. And then I was watching some YouTube videos, and I kept seeing these videos at the beginning of the year last gardening season of people battling squash bugs. And I was like, After seeing a number of these videos, I'm like, well, what do squash bugs look like? So I went ahead and looked them up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen those in my garden. I thought they were stink bugs, but they look like a stink bug, but they're a little bit longer than a stink bug. So sure enough, I went out and found a number of adults in my beds laying eggs, and lots of nymphs that had hatched. I didn't lose any plants. I didn't lose any squash, but it is quite the exhaustive process to try to get on top of that once you kind of lose control of it. So this year I was a little bit more prepared and watched a number of videos on, how to go about starting your season with squash. And what I saw a number of people do and recommend is don't be too overly assertive and plant your squash out early in the season when those squash bugs are super active. But I planted everything from seed, and then I covered both beds with insect cloth with hoops the best I could, because I have these trellises on here, so it was a little bit hard to connect it on the inside. But I covered them until they grew to the very top of those nets, and when they started flowering. And sure enough, just before we took the netting off, there was some squash bugs on top trying to figure out how to get in. So we got rid of those, but we had to get the cloths off because obviously we need to get them pollinated. So we did that. And then I've just stayed after it for a couple of days. Every couple of days, I come out here, look for live squash bugs, look for nymphs that have perhaps hatched, and try to get as many eggs as I can. So my technique is have a squirt bottle of soapy water. I just make some homemade soapy water, and on spraying any of the live bugs, it kills them within probably 30 seconds to a minute. So my understanding is that soapy water breaks down the outer layer of kind of like a oily film layer over their body, and allows their airways that they breathe through to be opened up. And when that water from the spray bottle gets in there, they basically suffocate or drown. So that works like a charm. So I keep that handy. I keep a little bottle here right in the garden, right by the beds, because inevitably walking by, I'll see something and I can just grab it and spray it, because they're fast. If they see any shadows, they see any movement, you move a leaf, they start to scurry. So I keep this handy when I walk around these beds. And I also use duct tape. Come out here, like I said, every other day, bring a little piece of duct tape with me so I don't have to rip the leaves off, and I go through and with that sticky tape, I'm able to get the eggs off of the leaf. Sometimes it takes a little bit of the leaf off with it, but for the most part, I can get the eggs right off the leaf, and then dispose of that. So what I thought I would do is just show you a clip of going through that process, and how I handle all those little critters that I find. Here's the duct tape with all the eggs on it. Here is an adult. And then this little guy right here is a nymph that's actually grown a little bit after hatching, so it may be a few days old. Then I just simply fold the duct tape over, seal it up. Some people just squish the eggs. This kind of squishes them a little bit, but they're pretty hard. I just seal it up and throw it away. So that's it. That's how I do it every couple of days. Today I was able to find 4 adults that I eradicated, a number of nymphs, which I was really surprised because I've been out here diligently getting as many eggs as I can see, especially on the lower leaves. The lower leaves and a little bit, maybe a foot or 2 off the ground is where you see most of them. So I was really surprised to see that many, and also a lot of eggs, which didn't surprise me because I usually get that many about every other day or so. So at any rate, yeah, so that's how I try to mitigate the squash bug issues in my garden. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please consider pushing that like button and subscribing to the channel as we continue our journey here in the garden. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.